Two of the greatest offenses in the history of baseball are set to battle in St. Louis this weekend as the hot swinging Chicago White Sox come to Busch Stadium to face the ball-bashing St. Louis Cardinals. This is a special Locked On White Sox and Locked On Cardinals crossover.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans and White Sox fans. I'm JD Hafron, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. Want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals and Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. Make sure you're stopping by, you're liking, you're subscribing, and you're hitting that notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation, and for today, serving White Sox Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode being brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Just keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed Fed only available to U.S. customers. Well, happy Friday, one and all, and welcome to the weekend. It's here, and what a weekend we have to look forward to in downtown St. Louis with the White Sox and the Cardinals set to face each other in what I'm sure is going to be three explosive offensive games beginning on Friday night. While we're here, while we got you, please give a nice Locked On Cardinals welcome to my partner in crime today and host of the Locked On White Sox podcast, Mr. Todd Welter. Todd, welcome in, sir. And by the way, welcome to the Locked On Podcast Network, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Looking forward to, just those 10-9 games that we're going to see on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I can't wait to see, how many home runs are going to be hit. It's just going to be such a fantastic game. I never got a hint of sarcasm from you there on these juggernaut offenses that we're going to see, because it's going to be bad. Like I'm expecting 1-0, not because of a pitcher's duel, 1-0 because of like nobody being able to hit with runners in scoring position. It's going to be bad. But
it's more than likely going to happen that way. Yeah, I don't know if the kids and the fans are purchasing all the bleacher seats and left and right field, just awaiting the amount of home runs that are come flying over the walls from both of our squads this weekend, because it's been tough. It's been tough. The White Sox are coming into this series this weekend with the worst record in Major League Baseball. They're 6-25. They recently swept the Tampa Bay Rays, which when I saw it, I'm like, of course they're going to get hot right before the Cardinals have to face them. And they've now lost 3 straight in 7 of their last 10. On the Cardinals side of things, they're not that much better. They are in 4th place in the NL Central at 14-17. They've lost 2 in a row and are 5-5 in their last 10. The White Sox, Todd, stop me if I'm wrong, but they kind of knew that this was going to be a tough year. This wasn't going to be the most competitive team coming into the season. Would you say that's accurate?
Oh, yeah, it was going to be bad, but I don't think everybody was expecting it to be historically bad. They're off to the worst start in franchise history, and it's not like the White Sox haven't been around since 1900. This is like, everybody thought maybe 10, 11 wins by now, because the hope was they would be better than last year's start when they got off to a 7-21 start and just everything crumbled from there.
Yeah.
But it's even worse. Like, it's historically bad. They are 3-8 in 1-run games. That's how bad it's been too. Like, they give you hope, and then the bullpen blows it, or they commit a bad error like Paul DeYoung did on Wednesday.
We know that guy.
Yeah.
We're quite familiar with them. Now, coming into the year, you guys did have one thing in your pocket. You had one of the biggest trade chips this offseason, and that's former White Sox pitcher Dylan Cease, who ended up getting shipped to the San Diego Padres back in March. You got 3 of the Padres' top 10 prospects in return. It was a guy that a lot of Cardinal fans were hoping that they would be able to sweet talk the White Sox into shipping him over, because at the time, people were concerned that the Cardinals, it was all about pitching this offseason. They were trying to fix this pitching staff that was so bad. And they're like, God, it would be nice to pair Dylan Cease along with Sonny Gray and just have that 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation. Ends up going to the Padres instead. Now, looking back on this deal, like I said, it happened back in March and we're in May now. What were your thoughts on the trade at the time, like the whole timing of it, where it was, right there at spring training? And has it changed at all since the season has started and you've seen how poorly the White Sox season has begun?
So the timing was fine by me. In fact, it took Chris Getz finally this long to realize that he wasn't going to get, as I think John Heyman got an executive that said that he was asking for the moon and the stars and the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So it took him a little bit of time to finally realize that he wasn't going to get that trade package. Like, I believe there was a rumor from the Reds that he was asking for their 2 top pitching prospects and then 2 more top 10 prospects. Like, that's how high it was.
Yeah.
So it needed to be done because he was making $8 million. That's the other thing. Still cost effective and still under team control for another year. He was their best trade asset. And this team was so terrible that he was the last piece of the roster teardown because the title contention window slammed shut because of a lot of reasons, including, one of the reasons was Tony La Russa, you guys' boy.
We know him too.
Yeah. But I like the trade and I still do, as you said, they got 3 of the Padres top 100 prospects. Top 10 prospects.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Thorpe, he was at the time MLB's pipeline's number 85 prospect. He's now up to number 77, I believe. And Jairo Iriarte, try saying that fast 3 times.
Yeah.
He's another guy with a great fastball, and they're both tearing it up right now in Double-A. And one of the biggest things that gives a lot, at least that I try to tell the Locked On White Sox audience, is you at least have hope to have a young, talented, controllable starting pitching down the road. And that's what you need to be competitive when you act like a small market team. They've got Garrett Crochet, who we'll probably talk about later. They've got, he's looking to be a dude. They already brought up Jonathan Cannon and Nick Nastrini for a few a brief debut. So they've got a lot of young, controllable arms, and that's why I like the deal. And then Samuel Zavala, he might actually be the answer in right field. The Sox are still trying to replace Jermaine Dye, and he retired 2 decades ago. Like, that's how bad right field is bad. Yeah, that's how bad. Like, right field has been an eternal hole in this lineup. And, he's 19 years old. He's off to a slow start, but he's got everything you want at a hitting prospect, especially being 19. And then Steven Wilson, he's been okay out of the pen. He did have a rough outing last Wednesday, but again, he's controllable for 3 more years, and he turns 30 in August. So you can flip him at the deadline, or again, you still have a relatively affordable arm in the bullpen for the next 3 years. And one of the things that sunk the White Sox was they used a lot of their limited resources, financial resources, on the bullpen. And you don't want to be spending that much money on your bullpen like they did, for like Liam Hendricks and Joe Kelly and, oh God, now I'm getting trauma.
A lot of people who are not there anymore is who they spent it on.
No.
What's been the fan reaction to this? Where, being in St. Louis, and then, we're not that far from Chicago, and we understand that, people are upset about the Cubs not spending enough money. Do they feel the same way about the White Sox? Are they like, hey, we are in Chicago. Like, why can't we afford the pretty big toys that everybody else is getting? Or do people understand what's going on there and that this rebuild's going to take some time?
So right now, the fan reaction is somewhere between apathy and rage. Not with the trade, but just with the team in general, because the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, he's one of the worst owners in the team. I mean, they are in the league. They want, there's been chance for sell the team for now about 1.5 years. He's also asking the taxpayers to cover a $1.9 billion new stadium he wants. And he's only willing to chip in $200 million. So it's right now apathy and, a lot of people just turning away from the team. I would equate it to, from the hockey side, when the Blackhawks became irrelevant in the early 2000s with old man Bill Wirtz just keeping the games off of TV, the home games off of TV, being just absolutely cheap. That's where the White Sox are right now.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. It's a little bit familiar because with all the success that the Cardinals have had over the years, there's a lot of upset fans right now too. The Cardinals apparently also are asking for some money to do some renovations over at Busch Stadium, and fans are kind of upset that they're not spending more money, considering their owner is a billionaire and is deciding, no, I'm not really moving past that $200 million payroll spot. That's where I'm comfortable. That's what we're spending. So that's Mo's job to go out and field the team that can win under those circumstances. And so far, it has been easy. The Cardinals this offseason, for your White Sox crowd, they had to rebuild an entire pitching staff, really. They went out and got AL Cy Young runner-up Sonny Gray. They signed a couple of veterans, Kyle Gibson, former White Sox, Lance Lynn. You're familiar with him. They also got Keenan Middleton, who was with the White Sox last year. They traded for Andrew Kittredge, and they're floating around under 500 right now after an ugly season last year, and it's got fans deeply concerned that they are headed down a similar path here in 2024. Now, the one thing that we kind of hinted at the beginning of the show was that these teams have one thing in common, and that is that neither of them have been able to hit the baseball hardly at all. So we're going to talk about the offenses for both sides coming up next on this crossover episode of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On White Sox. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and a whole lot more. Whether you're into speed, whether you're into power, what if it's style, what if it's all three, which, why wouldn't you want all three if you could get it? eBay Motors has got you covered in all of these different areas with over 122 million parts. For your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And bonus, with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed each and every time to fit your ride. And if it doesn't, you get your money back, because with eBay Motors, they're interested in you burning rubber, not burning through your cash. That's not what it's all about. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. That's ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? You have to turn down the volume because of the shouting? We get it. So make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel, and it's programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis. We've got opinions. We've got news. It's streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Remember, you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals' hometown broadcast, since they are in St. Louis, with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Cardinals. And thank you for making Locked On Cardinals and Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. We would love to have comments from you in the comments section on YouTube, as well as hit us up on Twitter X anytime you want. That feedback always welcome and encouraged. Once again, Todd Welter, host of Locked On White Sox, joining us for this crossover episode. Todd, what's your Twitter handle for everybody listening to the audio version of this? You can see it if you're watching YouTube, but on the audio version, let everybody know where they can follow you.
At Todd J Dub.
J Dub. Is that a given nickname, or did somebody give that to you?
Well, yeah. I mean, when I was at Marquette, I was always called T-Dub, so I went Todd J Dub because my middle initial is J, so Todd J Dub. Also, I'm from Johnsburg, Illinois.
There you go.
Born and raised.
And how long have you been? Have you been a White Sox White Sox fan your whole life, or is this just job related, or how did you get into the White Sox?
Oh, I've been a White Sox fan my entire life. So I grew up in McHenry County, which is like the far northwest suburbs, way out there. We're a suburb. We have a metro line. And like Chicago city residents versus suburban residents, it's a thing in Chicago. Like, are you true, whatever. But yeah, I grew up on there. I grew up in Cubs country, but I'm a diehard Sox fan. My dad was a Sox fan. He had season tickets. And he always took me to the game. He was part of a season ticket package, and he would keep 4 games, and I think he got like 10, so he would sell the other 6, and he would take me, and we'd sit and watch the Sox and eat Scott Peterson hot dogs for $1.75 because that was the only time we could pay for concessions. And then he dropped his season tickets after the strike. But I've always been a Sox fan, but I have covered Major League Baseball. We were texting. I covered the Brewers for the Associated Press because I do reside now in Milwaukee. So I'm very familiar with the Twins. I mean, with the Cardinals. They played the Sox played the Twins. Sorry about that. But yeah, so I'm definitely familiar with the Cardinals on there.
Who was the favorite White Sox player when you were growing up? You're going to games with your dad. Who was it? Who was it that you were always wanted to see?
Oh, you got to go Frank Thomas. So I'm dating myself about how old I am. Yeah, you got to go with Frank Thomas. It was always amazing to see him crush a home run. Ozzie Guillen, Lance Johnson. Jack McDowell was awesome to see.
Another former Cardinal, Lance Johnson. That's where he started, was with the Cardinals.
The one dog. Definitely loved Alex Fernandez, Wilson Alvarez, all those guys. And then there was the white flag trade, 1997. And that's what I keep trying to remind our audience is being a White Sox fan is like being on a roller coaster ride. Like, they'll crush your heart. Like my first heartbreaking moment, 1989, I think I was 7 years old. They traded Harold Baines and I was crushed, but they got Wilson Alvarez and Sammy Sosa in that deal. So then they go win the division in 93. And then, you got the white flag trade, but then 8 years later, you win a World Series. So, but right now we're definitely in a very bad peak right now.
Well, I think it's always nice to hear for Cardinals fans because we have been really, 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 really spoiled over the years, and I don't, and we expect that every year that it's going to be 90 wins, it's going to be a division title, definitely playoffs, and to have last season and what's going on this season happening, it's kind of a smack of reality in the face for Cardinals fans. And we're not sure how we're supposed to handle it. We don't know what we're supposed to do with our hands, Todd. We're confused. We don't know why nobody can hit. It's weird. You guys are going through it as well as far as the offensive side of things too. Batting has been a problem for both of these squads. And if you want to watch a lot of offense, this is probably not the series for you this weekend because they are bottom of the list in most offensive categories. Home runs, the White Sox 22, Cardinals 21, 29th and 30th in the league. That's last and second to last, in case you're wondering. Runs scored, Cardinals are at 28, White Sox at 30th. You got the A's in there at number 29. Hits, Cardinals 26, Sox 30. Batting average, Cardinals 26, Sox 29. OBP, Cardinals 25, Sox 30. Slugging, you're catching the theme here, right? Slugging, Cardinals 27, Sox 30th. And then OPS, Cardinals 28th, White Sox 30th. Now, for the White Sox, a couple of reasons why you guys might be struggling offensively is because two of your big guns out with injuries right now in Luis Robert and Yoan Moncada.
Yeah, Luis Robert's going to be out at least through, I think, May. Moncada, they're saying he could be back by July, but I don't trust him at all to be back through the rest of the year. Moncada, especially, he was off to a great start, 282 average. But again, these ailments just keep crushing his career. And he's also the highest paid player. But the biggest issue is two other bats that needed to step up then in their absence. Andrew Benintendi and Andrew Vaughn. They are off to very slow starts. Now, Benny, he's hitting the ball a little bit better. He crushed a couple home runs in the last couple of series. And Vaughn, he had a decent series against the Twins, but it's not enough to help the offense, especially an offense that is full of just replacement level players. And Benintendi, he was supposed to be the leadoff guy. He failed so badly that now we got to go with Nicky Lopez as a leadoff hitter. He's basically an automatic out, and he's a 9-hole hitter.
Benintendi, I saw that it was in that Rays series. He had that big game with a couple of dingers and I think like 6 RBIs. But yeah, he seems like a shell of the hitter that we saw in his early time in Boston and in Kansas City, where he was an all-star. What has been the problem with him so far? Is he just swinging and missing, popping up? What are you seeing over there?
So he was going more for and this was more, I think, what one of the beat writers, James Fegan, reported on this, that he was more going again for contact, trying to go the other way. And what he's adjusted now is he's just trying to crush the ball, just hit it hard. And, that's the problem too with the White Sox offense. One of the things that you missed was the Sox have the lowest hard hit percentage in baseball, according to Baseball Savant. They don't hit the ball hard. And that was one of the things with Andrew Benintendi is he was more going for contact. He's made an adjustment in his swing though now where he is trying to lift the ball and launch the ball, which I think is what is needed. And you're seeing him start to produce. I mean, I think his average was at one point at like 150. So now it's above 200. So progress.
Now, it's funny because we feel you because we've got multiple guys hitting under 200 still. And Paul Goldschmidt just got over that Mendoza line. So trust me, we understand exactly what you're going through. Our top prospect, Jordan Walker, kind of similar situation where he was trying to take things to the opposite field because that's where they were throwing him. Everything was outside or trying to get him to chase away, and it eliminated any sort of power that he had whatsoever. We're talking about a guy who's the size of Giancarlo Stanton, 6'6", 245 pounds, and he can't lift the ball. He can't get it in the air. He's not hitting home runs. So they've sent him down to Memphis to work on that again and work on those launch angles and what he's doing as far as batting, what his plan is when he's in the box for guys that are throwing him away like that. Because you're like, what? How is this guy got 1 RBI or like no home run? Like it was weird that he's been dominated as well. Another guy I want to bring up on the White Sox side of things, because this was a dude that back in 2019 looked like he was on the verge of becoming one of the elite sluggers in the league. Eloy Jimenez, 31 dingers that year in 2019. But since then, the production has tailed off. And as you mentioned with Moncada, injuries have been the real problem with him.
Yeah, he cannot be relied on. I think he's only played over 100 games like twice in his career. He got hurt in the 3rd game of the season. Now he came back. He's been hitting a little bit better. His average got dropped down to, I think it was after the Phillies, one of the games in April 19th. He was at like under 100. So he's been on a tear recently, but he cannot be counted to stay in the lineup. He is a guy that will probably only play 100 games a year. He's probably likely not to have his option exercised. And that was another thing that the Sox did during the first rebuild was they gave a lot of these guys these contracts and, for cost control. And that it made sense. But then some of these guys just stopped working and taking care of themselves. And one of the speculations is Eloy was one of them. So he doesn't keep himself in the best shape. He's getting all these soft tissue injuries, or he gets hurt when he's in the field. He's a terrible fielder. Like he tried to make a diving save in spring training over the fence and just totally snapped his shoulder. So that's just what injuries has been a big thing that has killed the Sox and put them down into this 6 and oh god.
We just say bad start. Yeah. You don't have to say the numbers. It's okay. It's okay. We're not here to punish you any more than you've already been punished, Todd. It's okay.
Well, I hope you guys are ready to be 500, though. You got a really good chance of going 500.
Well, you say that, and it's something the Cardinals have failed to get to over and over and over. So it's funny you mentioned soft tissue injuries. I'm starting to see a common theme here about how these two franchises are mirroring each other, because we had a guy who had the same problems. He did take care of himself very, very well, was Tyler O'Neill. He was always in tremendous shape, but constantly got hurt, and they finally had to pull the cord on that whole plan and trade him to Boston. And of course, he's tearing it up for Boston when he's in their lineup. So we get it, man. So we know that both of these offenses are terrible. All right, we get that. So we're gonna switch up things and talk about the pitching matchups. Maybe there's a hint of hope there for the White Sox. I know the Cardinals have been actually a lot better at pitching than most people thought this year. So we'll get into those pitching matchups for each team this weekend next on this crossover episode of Locked on Cardinals and Locked on White Sox. Baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. If you're listening to what me and Todd are saying, offense is not going to be good this weekend. Maybe that's a hint to go ahead and pick up some of these pitchers that will be starting this weekend in your PrizePicks entry. You can also get in on the playoff action in the NBA and the NHL and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during the postseason for both the NBA and the NHL. One of my favorite things about PrizePicks is just how easy and simple things are done. It's not confusing. If you're new to PrizePicks, it's not a confusing app. Very simple. You can make your picks, submit your entry, and you can do it all in less than 60 seconds. And when you win, you get your money right away. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So download it for yourself today and check it out. Download the app. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's download the app. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB. And by the way, lowercase, LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. All right, we need a timeout real quick and a pause to talk about Monopoly Go. If you haven't tried this yet, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're waiting, because I'm not gonna just let this pass you by. An opportunity to have some fun, enjoy a really good game that's got a lot of good stuff inside it. It's Monopoly Go, where you can team up with your friends for time tournaments, where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. And there's so many other things that you can grab, like unique stickers that you can trade with friends to complete albums to get yourself some big prizes. They got cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. They've got hilarious emojis. So you don't always have to get along with your friends. We're guys. We get it. You like to give each other a little crap here and there. You like to smack talk. So you've got those emojis that you can use for taunting your friends when you smash their buildings, when you heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. Ton of unique mini games like digging for treasure. You can do that. They got robot pachinko machines, and there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's just a lot of stuff going on here, and it's a lot of fun stuff, and you can enjoy it now. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering each and every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Once again, host of Locked On White Sox, Todd Welter, joining us today for this crossover episode. We're previewing this weekend's Titanic matchup, offensive matchup between the Sox and the Cardinals at Busch Stadium. Let's get into the pitching side of things, Todd. We know the hitting stinks. How about the pitching side of things? How are things in Chicago? Starting pitching-wise, you trade Dylan Cease. There are still some familiar names, though, in that rotation that the White Sox have been using this year. Have they been at least able to keep you guys in games despite the offensive woes?
Oh, yeah. The problem is they're just not going deep into games. Last series against the Twins, but all three starting pitchers barely were able to go 5 innings. But Erick Fedde, he goes on Saturday. He's been one of the few bright spots this season. They signed him out of the KBO. You know, he was so bad for the Nationals that he got exiled basically to Korea. He makes a few changes and he wins the MVP there, and he's been outstanding. He's emerged as a stopper. He's got 20 Ks in his last 2 outings. Garrett Crochet, he's a dude. I mean, all he's got to do is basically avoid the big inning. You know, he started off first 3 starts, he looked like an ace. Like he looked like the guy. Then he was struggling through the next 3 starts. Last start against the Twins, he looked more like that guy we saw at the beginning of the season. But they're going to be very, very careful with him. I would expect him to probably go again no more than 5 innings. He had 5 innings, 77 pitches against the Twins. So they're probably going to be kid gloves because he only had 73 career innings prior to this season. So he's going from a reliever to a starter. He had Tommy John surgery in 2022. But then you get treated to Brad Keller tonight. I bet you guys can't wait for that ace.
Well, Brad Keller, this thing, being that St. Louis is in Missouri, so they might remember Keller from his time with the Kansas City Royals. And yeah, nothing all that special. As far as And this will be something that'll be good for the Cardinals to, out of the three that are starting, this will be the easier matchup on paper because we've got Sonny Gray going for us on the one side. So I would say advantage Cardinals when you go Sonny Gray against Brad Keller. Gray has been everything the Cardinals could have asked for and more since signing him from the Twins last year. He's 3-1. He's got a 1.16 ERA. The lone loss, by the way, Todd, was against the NL Central leading Brewers, where he only gave up 2 runs in 6 1/3, and he struck out 12. And yet, because the offense couldn't put the ball in play, they lose. So clearly not his fault in that one. He won earlier this week against the Mets in what was so far his worst outing because he didn't get started due to a hamstring issue earlier in the season, but he ended up giving up 4 runs over 6 innings. He struck out 9, though. So, I mean, it's not like we're like, oh, you stink. It was still a very good outing, but he's been great. So advantage Cardinals on Friday, that's for sure. Saturday, you mentioned Erick Fedde, the former first-round pick from the Nationals. Things never worked out for him there, and he's been really good so far. And guess who you guys get to face on Saturday? Former White Sox Lance Lynn, who gave up 785. I think that's the exact number of home runs last year. What was going on with the home run ball in Chicago? Because it wasn't just Lynn who was getting torched.
Well, it's a very good home run park, even though the White Sox struggle to hit home runs in their own park. The ball
weird,
carries,
right?
Yeah, the ball carries very well. Especially again, it's just like Wrigley Field. If the wind's blowing out, the ball is going to go out. If the wind is swirling, you're going to struggle to hit. But that was the issue. Is it's a very good hitter's ballpark, and the White Sox just decided to construct a roster with guys that can't put the ball in the air.
Yeah,
so
that's probably not a wise choice. Yeah, because him and Giolito struggled with home runs last year, and everybody was just curious, like, was it because he really sucked? Was he tipping pitches? But you think it was just kind of the home ballpark was going against him?
It was the home ballpark, and I think it was also location. The only guy that was ever really tipping his pitches was Michael Kopech, and they moved him out of to the bullpen. So, and he's now just back to throwing 100 miles an hour. So if you guys get Kopech, all he's going to do is throw his 4-seam fastball. So just lay off it. If he does decide to throw a slider, then he's effective. But he's basically going to try to throw 102 miles an hour every time. And then it didn't help for Lance Lynn to be traded to Dodger Stadium, where that's another ballpark where you can drive the ball pretty well. And that's where he was giving up, I think, another, what did you say, 785? I think about half of them did come at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, it just the ball was flying off of bats when Lance Lynn was throwing it in. He has been a lot better this year, by the way, because that's actually a battle of undefeateds on Saturday. Because Fedde 2-0, Lynn 1-0, although he should have a better record than that because he's actually pitched very, very well. And then you mentioned Garrett Crochet on Sunday, big left-hander, 1-4. I've enjoyed him in fantasy due to the strikeouts, but he's had a couple of bad games, but you're going to get that with young pitchers. He's still trying to figure things out. So what's the key to beating Garrett Crochet? If he doesn't go deep into games, how do you work the counts against him? Does he struggle with any certain pitches, throwing it in the zone?
No, he's pretty good at throwing strikes. The thing is what he'll try to do every now and again is he tries to get it down on right-handed hitters, and he's a left-handed hitter. And that's the one pitch where if you try to get it down, you can almost see it. It'll leave like a little extra tick for a hitter to catch up to it. That's where I've seen him make his mistake, is if he's going on to a right-hander trying to get it down and in, that leaves the ball up just for a brief second for you to kind of launch it, and that's what happens. He gives up. In those 3 bad starts he had 3 bad innings where he gave up a bunch of home runs. Cincinnati gave up 5. I think there was 2 home runs on that. Philadelphia torched them too, and that. And what I noticed too, and I was like watching, I'm like, wait a second. It's usually when the ball is down that on a right-handed hitter is where he's going to leave himself up for getting hit pretty good.
That could be interesting for Nolan Arenado because he has lost all of his power, it seems, but loves the ball down, loves the ball low and in, dead pull hitter. So that might be a matchup to watch on Saturday or on Sunday. And that's pretty much it. What's going on this weekend? Who on the offensive side for the White Sox is your pick to click? Who's somebody we should keep an eye on this weekend?
I'm actually going to go with Andrew Vaughn. I mean, he had 5 hits in the last series, so maybe he's finally starting to get out of his struggle. And then the other guy is apparently the missing piece was Tommy Pham. They've won 3 games since he was at it. So I'm going to go with 2. I'm going to go with Tommy Pham and Andrew Vaughn.
I was going to say, I was surprised you didn't go Tommy Pham and Paul DeYoung, just revenge weekend for former Cardinals, because that's usually how it works out. I don't know if you saw over this past week where the Cardinals faced Jack Flaherty for the first time, and he just goes out and strikes out a career high 14 hitters in the game. So I don't know. People like to shove against the Cardinals when they have been jettisoned from St. Louis at some point in their careers. So Tommy Pham, Paul DeYoung watch, and then some Vaughn in there as well. On the Cardinals side of things, I wish there was somebody that I could tell you to be scared of. None of them are really any good right now. The guy that's made the most difference, and I'm hoping that they kind of shuffle things around a little bit to get him closer to the top of the order, is rookie shortstop Mason Wynn. He has been somebody that's been pretty fun to watch, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. And, but they've had him lower in the order most of the time. They keep Britton Donovan at the top of the order as the leadoff guy, but he's only hitting like 222 now. So I don't know. I'll just go with Nolan Arenado. I brought him up that maybe that'll be a good matchup on Sunday. So I'll stick with Arenado this weekend. So that's the guy that I think White Sox pitchers should keep an eye on this weekend.
What about the ghost of David Eckstein? Because that's our owner's favorite player. He said that David Eckstein is his favorite player ever.
I wish we had guys like David Eckstein who could get on base like he used to. The guy had no business being a professional athlete, and yet he went out and wins a World Series MVP, and he was just a great guy. We loved having him in St. Louis. He's one of the key pieces to the World Series championship. But his ghost is long gone. All of the ghosts of Yadier Molina, Albert Pujols, they've all vanished. They're all gone. And now we've got what we've got right now. A team that looks like on paper should be good, but they haven't been able to put it together yet. So honestly, just hoping the Cardinals could take 2 of 3 this weekend. That was kind of the goal this week, was to try to go 4-2. They've already lost 2 against the Tigers. So if they could come out even at 3-3, that I think that's at least it's progress, as you mentioned earlier. It's at least progress. So.
Well, you're playing the unofficial get-right team of Major League Baseball.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get the brooms out. We'll see what happens. Although I'd be shocked if anything like that were to go down, because the Cardinals have 1 win in a series finale so far this year. They're 1-9 now, so they suck.
Please don't give me hope. Please don't give me hope.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Thank you guys for making Locked On Cardinals and Locked On White Sox your first listens every day. If you haven't already, give me a follow on Twitter X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Todd, what's your handle again?
At Todd J Dub.
All right. Give him a follow as well. We'll have some fun on the social medias this weekend together. Please like and subscribe on YouTube to both the Cardinals and the White Sox to help our channels grow. And you guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals and Locked On White Sox. Todd, we'll talk this weekend, buddy.
Sounds good.